Universalism. We seek to create a loving community, inspire joy and spiritual growth, and support courageous action. All are welcome. If you have a desire to explore questions of truth and meaning and are respectful of our diversity of people and beliefs, you found kindred spirits here. If you'd like more information about this fellowship or Unitarian Universalism, please see information about us on our website, really easy to remember, uufc.org. If you're interested in getting our weekly newsletter so you can get connected to our community for online social events, our weekly sharings of joys and concerns, our collective efforts to support local social justice work, please reach out to the office by email on our website or in the announcements on the back of the order of service. So speaking of the announcements, if you turn over on the back, you know, it's interesting when one announcement is raised up and not with the bullets, I never see it. And so I was looking today to say, where is the information about the installation? Well, it's right up there at the top. It's above all of the bullets. We are so excited to make sure that everybody knows about the installation of our newly settled minister, Reverend Holly Brown. That will be in the afternoon. There will be a service in the morning. Holly Olbrook, I understand, will be a part of that. So we'll have Holly with an E in the morning, and then Reverend Holly Brown in the afternoon at 4 o'clock for what is sounding like it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful installation service. Also want to point out to you the Common Read discussion. Every year, the Unitarian Universalist Association, also known as UUA, suggests to us a book that they would like for all of us to read. And this year, the book is called Repentance and Repair. Discussion on those books will begin this week, as you see there, so you can sign up for that. There's a wine and cheese tasting on Saturday evening with John Hoskin. They're in the back. And please feel free to read through all the rest of those, but I want to point out that last one for Family Promise. You might notice a basket in the hallway. It's a new basket, and it has cleaning supplies in it. So Olivia Sparkman is spearheading the collection of cleaning products that we're going to donate to Family Promise, who helps to supply people who are finding themselves without a home. So, welcome. Is that enough of me? Yes? So let's rise in body, mind, or spirit and sing one of my favorite songs, Blue Boat Home.
Still
The opening words come from Langston Hughes. The Negro speaks of rivers. I've known rivers. I've known rivers ancient as the world and older than the flow of human blood in human veins. My soul has grown deep like the rivers. I bathed in the Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo, and it lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi when Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen its muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known rivers, ancient dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like the rivers.
Thank you, Kathy, for those wonderful opening words. So now we have our chalice lighting and words of affirmation. We'll invite Cody to come light the chalice. Cody? Thank you. Yep. Oh, okay. Well, do you press this? I have not seen this before. Oh, okay.
Sorry, Cody, I forgot a step.
Oh, okay.
So Cody knows what to do.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathy. So, as she lights the candle, we will please join me in reading the words of affirmation. We gather together in the spirit of love, with justice as our guide. This is our chosen covenant. To love together, peace, and freedom, and to care for one another. Great. Thank you. And now we have our time for all ages.
As you might have figured out by now, this morning's service is focusing on the Chinese New Year. So this morning's story is about the Chinese New Year. And I would just like to preface it by saying that the Chinese New Year, or the Lunar New Year, is one of the most important holidays on the Chinese calendar. And although this story is a fictional story, it is based on a reality that happens in a lot of Chinese families every single year, because hundreds of millions of Chinese workers are migrant workers. They work hundreds of miles, even thousands of miles away from home, and they only come home for the New Year. So this is what our story is focusing on this morning. It is A New Year's Reunion by Yuli Qiong. Papa builds big houses in faraway places. He comes home only once each year during Chinese New Year. Mama and I wake up really early because Papa is coming home. I watch him from a distance, not daring to get close. Papa comes over and sweeps me up in his arms, prickling my face with his beard. "Mama!" I cry in alarm. "Look what I've got for you." Papa rummages in his big suitcase and takes out, "Ooh, what a pretty hat." Mama has a new padded coat, too. "Let's go and get a haircut. Then everything will go smoothly in the coming year." Papa says to me after lunch. I sit on a chair waiting. The Papa in the chair mirror is getting more like the Papa the way he used to be. See all the decorations for the new year? Later, it's time to make sticky rice balls. Papa buries a coin in one of the balls and says, "Whoever finds the ball with the coin will have good luck." Pop, 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 bang, bang, bang. We hear firecrackers outside all night. I lie between Mama and Papa and fall asleep, drowsily hearing them whispering and whispering. Early the next morning, Mama serves up piping hot sticky rice balls, and Papa feeds them to me with a spoon. Suddenly, I bite on something hard. The fortune coin! It's the fortune coin, I shout. Good for you, Mama! Quick, put it away in your pocket so the good luck won't escape. Papa is more excited than I am. Mama helps me into a brand new jacket. We're going New Year's visiting. On the way, I meet my friend Chen. Mama, where are you going? I'm out for New Year's visits with my papa. Me too. Look, I got a big red envelope. Well, how about this? I take out the coin from my pocket. I have a fortune coin. My papa buried it in a sticky rice ball, and I found it. On the second day of New Year's, the sky is gloomy, and it looks as if it's going to snow. Papa gets busy fixing the windows, painting the door, and changing the light bulbs, and the whole house brightens up. Come on, let's fix the roof, Papa says with a wink. Excellent. Mama never allows me up there alone. Hey, I can see Dachan's roof. Listen, what's that sound over there, I say. Oh, it's the dragon dance on Main Street. Papa straightens up and looks into the distance. Where is it? Where is it? I stand on tiptoe, stretching as far as I can. Papa puts me on his shoulders. Now can you see it? He asks. Yes, I can. They're coming. The dragon dance is moving along the street there. On the third day of New Year's, it snows really hard. When it finally stops, Dachan and the other children come and get me to play. We build a huge snowman in the courtyard and have a snowball fight. I don't go home until it's getting dark. I feel inside my pocket and I can't find the coin. My fortune coin is gone. I rush out to the courtyard, but it's all covered in snow. Where is my fortune coin? Don't cry, sweetie. I'll give you another one. Look, it's exactly the same. Papa scoops another coin out of his pocket. I don't want that one. I want the other one, I bawl. In the evening, I creep into bed miserable, but as I take off my jacket, clink, something falls on the floor. It's the coin, my fortune coin. Papa, come quick, come and see. I haven't lost the fortune coin. It's been with me the whole time. That night, I sleep very soundly. When I get up the next morning, I see Mama helping Papa pack. He is leaving today. Soon, Papa's packing is done. He crouches down and gives me a big hug, whispering in my ear, next time I'm back, I'll bring you a doll, okay? No, Papa, I shake my head hard. I want to give you something. I put the coin, all warm from being held in my hand for so long, in Papa's palm and say, here, take this. Next time you're back, we can bury it in the sticky rice ball again. Papa is very quiet. He nods and hugs me tight.
Thank you, Karen. That story is perfect in so many ways for what we're doing today. So this is the time we set aside for the offering in order to give toward the financial vitality of this community. Also, each week, 25% of what we collect each week. 25% of what we collect each week goes to an organization in the local community that we partner with. For the month of February, we are partnering with Ripple of One. For the folks at home, you can go to UUFC website and use the donate button. There you can see options for paying for your pledge. Thank you for your generosity, and we also appreciate collecting cans for Clemson Community and Care. Clemson Community Care.
So now is the time for the joys and concerns where we can, and we thank you for this generosity. And now is the time for the joys and concerns where we can hear how we can support or celebrate different members of our community. Oops. So we have a joy from Barbara S. I did not have to travel to Paris for delicious French toast. Thank you, Kathy Crain, for the auction breakfast. Thank you, Kathy, for putting a stone in for the joys and concerns. From Martha Alexander, on Tuesday I had surgery for basal cell carcinoma, and on Thursday the doctor called me. The margins were clear. Thank you. Oh, that's great. Okay. We have from Victor Young, I am interested in a men's group. If anyone is interested, please get in touch with me. Thank you, Victor. Thank you for that action. We have from Dave Sanders, I am delighted to be home after spending a month working in China. I'm especially glad to be back in time to attend this service celebrating the Lunar New Year. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, thank you. We have from Mel, a joy. Thank you to everyone who helped make my birthday an amazingly fun weekend. Happy birthday, Mel. Happy birthday. Thank you. Yeah. And we have one final one from Mike Cole. Jane and I are happy to be back in Clemson after several weeks down at our beach house. Thank you, Mike Cole. Thank you. And the final stone is for those joys and concerns held closer to the heart, and for those who are not with us this morning. Wonderful. So now, would the young and young at heart please help me in handing out the traditional red envelopes? So here we will be celebrating Chinese New Year. Now, the RE class helped prepare red envelopes or hongbao. Now, in Chinese tradition, I'll say a few comments as you guys hand it out. Now, traditionally, it's done with two hands. So as you hand out the hongbao and as you receive the hongbao, normally you can say Happy New Year and receive it with two hands. We have specially prepared hongbao for all of you. So hongbao in the Chinese tradition is given out during Chinese New Year to ensure prosperity, and the red is believed to ward off sickness and death, and inside there's a special unique message written for you, as well as some other treats, so please enjoy them. And I just want to make Corey, Usama, everyone gets hongbao, and also the people in the very back room, so we'll make sure everyone gets hongbao. Yep. So I want to wish you all a happy Chinese New Year. So as you may know, Chinese New Year was yesterday, February 10th, which is why some of us are wearing red. In fact, the New Year is not just one day of celebration, but 15 days of celebrations ending in February 24th, which marks the day of the Lantern Festival. And as you can see, UU is celebrating with decorations and lanterns that our RE class made last week. So join me in thanking our RU students and their beautiful decorations for helping us with the hongbao. Thank you. And if you want to just, keep your hand raised if you're still in need of hongbao. Yep, okay, we still got a couple. So a word about our younger members who were so instrumental in the decorations last week. So, we all remember Reverend Christina, our interim minister, who grew up in UU. So I want to thank our RE leaders, Karen and Mel, and the parents and everyone working to foster the Reverend Christinas of the future. Our work as UUs involves carving out a path to the next generation. So, Reverend Christina was here while we looked for a permanent minister. Reverend Holly, who we will be installing, as Kathy has mentioned, will making them truly permanent, truly a part of the next generation. And the installation, again, I think you know, will be here at UUFC on March 17th. That is a Sunday afternoon. Please make time for this very important event. Please RSVP if you haven't already. So yes, this is a very, very joyous spring we're having with the upcoming installation of Reverend Holly. We got Valentine's coming up. We got some sports games coming up. We have celebration of love, Valentine's Day, and the Chinese New Year, which is a celebration of spring. Essentially, it's a spring festival. It's a celebration of the new year, new season, new growth, and bountiful harvests. So please join me in ringing in the year of the dragon. 新年快乐，恭喜发财. Happy New Year. May you be prosperous. And now we have a New Year's reflection from our wonderful worship associate, Kathy Crain. Thank you.
I have a little story about math. 10 years ago, I went to the Philippines to celebrate my 60th birthday through a stint with the Peace Corps. In a couple of weeks, how old will I be? So yeah, I went to the Philippines, and I just didn't know the Asian culture. My sister came to spend Christmas with me, and I got time off from my work with our crew, and my sister and I went to what some people would call a resort, and it was on the coast of the island of Luzon, so a couple hours from Manila. We had a really nice time, and then we figured that we'd hop on the bus to get back to Manila, because she had to catch the plane home the next day. We thought that we'd do it on Christmas Day, because we figured, you know, there wouldn't, like, if you want to drive to Atlanta on Christmas Day, you can do it. Well, we didn't know the Asian culture, and we didn't know how crowded things would be on Christmas Day. That was a mistake. 3 weeks later, I had no idea of Chinese New Year. My team, my Filipino team, and I were working on the southern part of the island. We lived on the northern part. We are on the southern part of the island of Cebu. And so we were doing a training, and on the morning of Chinese New Year, which I knew nothing about, didn't even know that it was Chinese New Year, we hop on the bus to head back, and the bus starts getting more and more crowded. In Cebu City, in the middle of the island, we would transfer buses to go back up to Bogo, where we lived. There was no place to sit. No place to sit. So Jessa Lee, one of my team members, knew about going to find one of these big travel vans. We had to pay extra. I said, what is going on? Where are all these people coming from? It was Chinese New Year. It was more crowded than it was on Christmas Day. I still didn't understand what the big deal was about Chinese New Year, because none of my Filipino friends or colleagues acknowledged it. They didn't have Chinese in them. They didn't know to expect this either, or if they did, they didn't tell me about it. So, of course, I looked it up. It was Year of the Horse. I told you wrong. It was the Year of the Horse.
Yeah, I'm Year of the Horse, yeah.
So am I. And so I learned about the importance of community. I learned about what Karen read to us in that book, that it is chaos getting home to your family because that's what you have to do. And I loved learning about that. I wish I'd known about it before. My angst would have settled somewhat when I was in the middle of that rush hour on the bus. It was crazy. So I didn't know any people. I didn't know any Filipino Chinese people, so I didn't have any interaction with any of the celebrations that were, if there were any going on up in our area. But then I came home, And a few years after that, so 7 or 8 years ago, Oconee County, where I was working as an educator, Oconee County had this initiative that Chinese would be taught to our students in the school district of Oconee County. Oconee County brought some Chinese teachers over to work with us. And the woman who housed in Blue Ridge Elementary School, which is where I had my office as a school psychologist, she needed a place to stay until she could find a place. So she came and stayed with us for a couple of weeks, and I got to know her very well. And we got to be very, very good friends. And when she could go home for Christmas, she came to me and she said, I'm going home. I want to get your measurements. And I've never had that done before. And she brought me back this dress that I'm wearing today. I've never had an occasion to wear it. So I've had it now for 7 or 8 years. Thank you, Wei, for this opportunity to share it with our beloved community. And I'm so happy to be a part of Chinese New Year with you all today. Happy Chinese New Year.
The Chinese New Year is all about prosperity, and then, 2 things happened to me this morning. I was thinking about, I'm, doing a speech about the way of water. I was driving on the way to UU, and it started raining, and I was like, oh my God. And then my dad will test this. I saw a car right in front of me as we were about to turn in to Pendleton Road, and it was red, and it had the word dragon on it. And I was just like so amazed. And I really think today is like a really, really wonderful day. So happy Year of the Dragon, everyone. So the dragon is, for many people, their favorite animal in the Chinese zodiac because of how powerful and prosperous the dragon is. So, what does 2024 mean for you? I hope you consider the dragon. But, you should know the Chinese dragon is very different from the Western dragon. It does not breathe fire. It does not wreak havoc on villages. And, Daenerys Targaryen does not ride on it. No. The Chinese dragon is a benevolent spirit presiding over rivers, lakes, and temples. It is a rain deity that promotes harmony. While the Western dragon's fire is destructive, the Chinese water dragon's is restorative. The Tao Te Ching says, the supreme good is like water, which helps nature rather than fight against it. So I feel like that's the perfect theme for today's talk because, being here at UU, I have asked myself a question which maybe it's a question you guys have also asked yourself, which is, beyond the widely accepted principles and ideals of Unitarian Universalism, beyond the agreed upon values that we all share, what does UU mean to me personally, right? So I want to speak a little bit about what UU means to me by telling you about my journey to Unitarian Universalism, which is essentially my journey from the way of fire to the way of water, okay? So fire is the best way to characterize what I call my radical 20s. I really love this fire that burned within me as a person of color in America, writing about America. And there's 2 very important authors for me who inspired me. One was James Baldwin, and the second is Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks said, "We live in a white supremacist capitalist patriarchy." Now that really shocked me when I first heard it. It made me, if not woke, then at least awakened. And James Baldwin said, to be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. Wonderful fire, wonderful fire. To be a Negro in this country and to be relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. These writers gave me a historical and cultural context in which to view a marginalized identity. Because one part of the great American story, the story of the land of opportunity that didn't make sense to me was, if America is such a free country, why doesn't it feel free? Why do I feel like, try as I might, I am not heard, I am not represented, and that in order to be accepted, I must change who I am? So, I was living and operating in this country as a writer and a thinker, and to go from this framework of this country as a land of equal opportunity to this other framework, which is this country is a land of unequal oppression, that's a very, very big shift, which lit within me a fire that fueled a passionate, uncompromising form of free speech that I exercised in the pages of the Houston Chronicle as a cultural critic and reporter. I was writing a lot about race and racism through the lens of an awakened Asian American. They say the pen is mightier than the sword. Well, I had at my disposal an army of fighting words. But fighting takes its toll. I received backlash. So for every article I wrote channeling, bell hooks, speaking truth to power about systemic white supremacy, there were multiple comments, phone calls, social media posts, news stories, things happening in my community that pushed against what I was saying. I was dealing with constant daily outrage directed toward broad societal issues that I had no direct influence on. And that caused a feeling of hopelessness, a feeling that I'm doing everything I can to fight for justice and equality, and yet this country seems to veer in the opposite direction. It's a feeling of powerlessness, which feeds into indignation, which feeds into despair and bitterness. So I started to become a pessimist. I had so much fire that I started to burn out. I didn't feel like I could make any difference in the world. News story after news story about what was going on in this country would confirm my suspicion that everything is hopeless. I was blaming everyone but myself for this negative mindset. I was blaming those uneducated bigots that voted for the other side. I was blaming those weak-willed moderates who virtue signal but have no backbone for true sacrifice. I was blaming even my own community, people who I consider my people, who agreed with me on what we should accomplish, but disagreed with me about how we should do it. Seeing America as a land of oppression opened my eyes, but closed my heart. Hassan Minhaj once asked, is it possible to do the right thing for the wrong reasons? So was my fight for justice just some attempt to feel big in a world where I felt really small? I didn't really know what I needed to do to change. I just knew I wasn't happy. I just knew I had to do something. So in 2020, I quit my job, I packed my bag, and I left for Costa Rica. So, yeah, some people may know, I've talked about this a little bit. After I quit the Houston Chronicle, after I quit being a journalist, I ended up taking like a 2-year spiritual sabbatical. I was traveling, I was journeying, I was trying to find myself, trying to find inner peace. And it was in the jungles of Costa Rica that I met this man named Ed Bernhardt. I don't know if you guys have ever been in Costa Rica and seen those books that say medicinal herbs of Costa Rica. So he's the author of this book that's very popular in Costa Rica. He's an American expat in his 70s, and I was staying at his farm as a student, learning how to grow food and grow medicine. And yeah, he was a very important person in my life. He too had his radical 20s that he talked about. He also was a fighter for social justice. He was actually, in fact, one of the student protesters at Kent State in 1970. That was before my time, but I'm sure a lot of people here remember that. And he believed so strongly in the value of peace that he joined his fellow classmates to protest the Vietnam War, even as the National Guard marched onto campus and shot at them. And he told me about being there that day when the bullets started flying. He told me about dropping to the ground, his hands over his head, and as he looked around, seeing one of his friends lying on the ground, dead. There was a total of 4 students who were shot and killed at Kent State that day, few of them being Ed's friends. And Ed, he left Kent State and he spent several years in a deep, deep depression. He was stuck in a very negative mindset. He believed there's no way to win. He said, you can protest, you can organize, but in the end, they're the ones with the guns. So I asked him, what did you do? And he told me something very important. He said, you have to take responsibility for your growth and your healing. And that's what he did. It took him many, many years to slowly repair his relationship with the world, which was broken at the time. A lot of healing, a lot of reading, slowly working to improve his mindset. He said it is possible, even if you have a negative mindset, to slowly change the way you view and approach things. You have to foster and care for your inner joy. Now, Ed ended up finding a second purpose in life, which wasn't as a protester, but as a farmer. So he discovered permaculture, which is this practice of growing food in a way that is in harmony with nature. And he became Costa Rica's preeminent expert on medicinal herbs. The way of permaculture is a gentle way. It's a practical discipline with a deep philosophy of restoration and natural harmony. Now, Ed made me realize that just because you're living on a farm in Costa Rica, that doesn't mean you're giving up on the fight for justice. Permaculture is a defiance against the status quo of industrial agriculture and modern consumerism. So I learned that you don't need to try to change the world by writing in the pages of a top 10 newspaper. You can also do it by watering a plant. Last month, Reverend Holly had this great sermon during MLK, and she was talking about how MLK said that love must accompany power. There must be a balance between love and power. So I just want to thank them for their wonderful sermon, which fits very nicely with the lessons that I learned after the Houston Chronicle. And there's another great sermon this year, which was when Bill Bruhl talked about how meditation, the focused concentration on breathing, can help us move past a socially constructed identity that we cling on to. This identity that holds us back from empathy. My constructed identity as a radical Asian American writer, though rooted in a desire for positive change, became in a way an obstacle to empathy. Because the question I could never figure out during my radical 20s, my fiery 20s, was how do I care about justice and equality and not get frustrated when I see that I live in a world driven by greed, corruption, and mistrust? How do I escape this binary of either I care about justice and thus I feel bad about the state of the world, or in an effort not to be consumed by it all, I completely tune out of the larger society by becoming a hermit? So, in Buddhism, there is this belief that in all things there is the middle way. Or in Pali, it's called Majjhima Paripada. So the middle way or the middle path, I believe, is the way of water. Majjhima Paripada strikes a balance between our extreme tendencies. Practitioners of engaged Buddhism, like Thich Nhat Hanh, challenge themselves to fill themselves and their communities with love and compassion while facing the toughest issues of today. One of his students, Joan Halifax of the Upaya Zen Center in Santa Fe, she said that a strong backbone need not come at the expense of us remaining vulnerable. That we must face the world with soft fronts and hard backs. So, I know from being a journalist, there is certainly an unhealthy form of engagement we can have with current events. So, what does the path of healthy engagement with the world look like? I once thought that any acceptance of the way things are is a defeat. It's a sign of giving up. That there is no choice other than to be relatively conscious and to be in a rage nearly all the time. But Buddhism teaches that acceptance, what some would say radical acceptance, is the first step towards figuring out your role in the world and how you choose to respond to it. Do you choose to respond with outrage and frustration or with equanimity, patience, and loving understanding? So, Buddhism, some other Eastern practices like Taoism, they offer us tools to be at peace in an unpeaceful world, to cultivate within us a calm center that with practice becomes strong enough not to be so influenced easily by today's headlines. During meditation, the focus is centered on the breath, and negative external forces, though they remain, even negative internal feelings like physical pain, trauma, memories, these energies that once dominated your attention, they can begin to lose their power. American Buddhist Jack Kornfield once said, and this came up this week during the meditation, he said, "You can't stop the wave, but you can learn to surf." During my radical 20s, I found myself swimming headfirst into a wave until I almost drowned. And now I'm trying to ride the wave, to be strong and flexible the way water is strong and flexible. Water fits its shape to its surroundings, yet in doing so, it never changes its essential quality of being water. When you pour water from a tall glass into a wide pot, it changes its shape, but it has not lost its essential quality. Like water, Unitarian Universalism changes and fits the shape of the modern times to continue to be accepting and tolerant to all forms of people. Yet, despite changes made to, let's say, our language or technology or the way services are held, the core of UU never changes. That quality of flexible strength is exactly what led me to be here with you today. To be gentle enough to avoid a dogmatic or zealous stance on the causes you believe in, and thus to be open to listening, open to change. Yet, to be strong enough to make an impact on the world is to embody the highest quality of water. So, as today we celebrate the year of the dragon, let us think not of the fire-breathing dragon, but of the water spirit dragon. Let us celebrate 2024 as a year of gentle power, a year not of being consumed by the fires of outrage and conflict, but of healing, restoration, and acceptance. May you be well. So now we're going to end with a very brief moment of silence and meditation, and then after that, we will rise in body, mind, and spirit for hymn number 100. So very briefly, for about 1 minute, we'll just close our eyes together and just sit quietly. And that's all we need to do. Just straight backs, and we can breathe deep and just sit quietly for a minute. Okay, thank you so much. Ready for some music? So let us rise in mind, body, and spirit and sing together hymn number 100. I've got peace like a river. So I've got a special treat for you guys, which is the Tao Te Ching. So we have, for our closing words, chapter 78 of the Tao Te Ching. I believe this is a Stephen Mitchell translation. Nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water, yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. The soft overcomes the hard. The gentle overcomes the rigid. Everyone knows this is true, but few can put it into practice. Therefore, the master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. Evil cannot enter his heart. Because he has given up helping, he is people's greatest help. True words seem paradoxical. So thank you to Lao Tzu for these closing words, ancient Chinese wisdoms, and go now in peace and return in love. Amen.
Thank you, Corey.